welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today we're going to read some interesting channelings from Quo addressed to self-worth, inadequacy, self-doubt. Quo has addressed these questions in other episodes. I have an episode on self-worth. This is a more recent one, and it's important because in our culture, especially in our social media environment, oftentimes we end up questioning our own self-worth. There's lots of doubt about ourselves. I go through it all the time. I'm reading this channeling for myself. I'm constantly going through self-doubt, and I talk to people that are experiencing the same thing. It's okay. This anxiety and self-doubt that we are experiencing is normal, and there are ways and avenues of understanding it and addressing it and considering our place in the world where we can still be of service. These questions are answered by Quo, a group of higher density beings that are channeled through a group called LL Research. You can check out my previous episodes where I go into further detail about Quo. Quo generally answers questions of a spiritual nature, and their answers have been profound enough, really affected my own consciousness. We begin with the channeling delivered on March 15th, 2023. Question: today we would like to explore the theme of feeling increasing pressure that gives us catalysts of feeling of low self-worth and inadequacy and anxiety. We are hoping that you could help us understand how to work with this catalyst in our spiritual journeys. Jim channeling. I am Quo, and am with this instrument at this time. We greet each of you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator of which we are all a part. We are honored, as always, to be called to your group this evening, for this call is one which helps us to be of service in our own way. And this is the way we feel most honored to serve, to speak to this group in answer to queries, such as the one you have asked tonight. These queries are most important to the spiritual seeker of truth. This evening, of course, is one which is very personal to this group. Thus, we feel a great honor and duty to respond to your query as best we can. And of course, you are part of how we can respond and how you use your own discrimination to evaluate for yourself the quality and usefulness of our response, so that what feels right to you in your own heart be that which you utilize in your own journey of seeking. If you find any portion of our replies which falls short of feeling useful, please do not hesitate to set them aside. As you know, this frees us to be able to speak as we will. For we do not wish to place any stumbling block in front of any seeker of truth. You asked this evening about the qualities of self-doubt, of apprehension and anxiety, about how one performs, in this particular case, the service of channeling, and in general how self-doubt might be utilized by any seeker of truth, whether a channel is each here or one who simply channels the life experience and confronts difficulties in the perception of the self and being able to manage one's feelings about oneself as one is pursuing whatever goal or intention one feels is most important in the life path. For you all are our channels. You all channel your life experience, your thoughts, your desires, your needs, your feelings. And whether you are a channel of the vocal type which is experienced tonight, or one who tries to channel the life, it is important to realize self-doubt is a part of any spiritual seeker's journey. Self-doubt and the anxiety that comes from it are portions of each seeker's desire to deal with at some point, perhaps even periodically, so that the energy of one's efforts and intentions might be assessed to see if there is room for growth that can come from experiencing self-doubt. For self-doubt is that which creates a kind of vacuum within the mind-body-spirit complex, a vacuum which can be utilized in a conscious manner to bring into the self the thoughts where doubt arises. What causes the doubt? How do you feel when it arises? What is your first response? What do you feel is the most important response? Do you respond with anxiety or with a kind of fear? Can you use that in some manner that can fill that vacuum with more purpose, more confidence, more direction of the life path? Self-doubt gives you a chance to reevaluate what you feel is important in your life journey. The anxiety that comes from self-doubt adds to you a greater desire to find answers that come from within. For you do have those answers, my friends. When you look to the heart of your being, that which is so directly connected to the one infinite creator, you see that self-doubt and its corresponding anxiety gives you the opportunity to see how you are not that entity which is truly experiencing a necessary and appropriate kind of response, unless you feel that this will bring you closer to a truer realization of who you are and what your capacity and capabilities are. In that regard, to processing and moving forward in your life experience, self-doubt can be seen also as a kind of way station, where you may, as the one known as Gary said, put your legs up for a moment or two, as long as necessary, to feel the true nature of your own being as being a reflection of the one infinite creator that wishes to know itself through your experience of dealing with the self-doubt that will arise from time to time within each seeker's journey. This is an effective means of discovering the truer nature of your being by questioning what is your nature and how it functions more or less effectively. You bring up from your deep subconscious mind greater and greater definitions of the potential for your spiritual journey to be enhanced by questioning your own being, quality, nature, effectiveness. This is a journey that is well worth taking, my friends. Do not back away from self-doubt. Do not back away from any self-estimation or perception, for these are the challenges which give you an opportunity to answer the question in the affirmative as to whether or not you are worthy of being a channel as a vocal instrument or as a life path, as a means of seeking the one creator. To reevaluate from time to time is an important thing to do, and self-doubt gives its opportunity to you. We suggest that you process the self-doubt because when you do, and you do it assiduously when necessary, we know you will discover the truer nature of your being is that which is most viable, potent, desirous, positive, and capable of moving forward as a channel of the life experience and any kind of channeling that you wish to do. At this time, we shall transfer this contact to the one known as Gary. We are those of Quo, Gary channeling. We are those known to you as the principle of Quo, and once again we blend our energies with this circle, joyous as ever to see these faces with whom we have shared the road of service for some time. This instrument is feeling some hesitation himself in terms of stepping forward and allowing the flow to move, to carry the message from one realm to another, given his own absence from the channeling and his own catalyst with regards to this topic. We might speak to you concerning the intersection of this self-doubt with your service as instruments for the Confederation of Planets. We undertake our mission to speak to the love and the light inherent in the infinity and unity of all things. Knowing that we are working with third density entities, we do not seek out avatars and perfect beings for this service. We work with those whose hearts are aligned with ours in desiring the alleviation of suffering, because they, as instruments, know suffering intimately, and because they feel in their own bodies the suffering so prevalent in your world, among those you love and those you don't know. We seek to work with you, who are of this world now, not other than, not above, not exempt, not masters in your complete knowledge of all things, but those who, like all upon your planet, are greatly limited in your vision, where you understand so very, very little, where you must make choices in a relative darkness, unilluminated by the awareness of the true nature of reality. You must make choices based on faith, and in the trust that which is within your hearts will guide you most truly if you can learn to hear it, to follow it, and to place love at the center of your journey and your choices. You who are our friends will have self-doubt upon your path and in your service, including serving as instruments for our thoughts. It is a peculiar situation to find oneself in as a third density entity, who is not different than any other third density entity, to share a message pointing to that which calls to your hearts, but which you feel, you embody, and know imperfectly. It is a peculiar position to share a testimony of travelers from beyond your realm, so to speak, while you, as you may judge yourself, stumble within your own seeking to know that which is spoken. What we seek And what we have to share will never ever find its complete and total and accurate representation in words. Even were you in a situation of what you call trance channeling, whereby your conscious mind was not filtering our message, and we could speak directly our thoughts, truth is not of words. Truth is of love. It is of light. It is of unity. Your words' symbols are no more than the finger pointing to the moon in this regard. There is something of a distance, you might say, between that finger pointing upward and that celestial object in your heavens. But we speak nevertheless. Finding infinitely creative ways to convey what we feel is the essence of yourselves and the true nature of things. You are our partners in this service. You need not deliver that which this instrument minds. We correct this instrument. This instrument's vocabulary gives us as blowing the mind of the other self, or offering some special type of revelation, or some, as you would scale it, raw level of precision and profundity. You need only to feel that love within you. Feel who you are, your imperfections included, and let that give voice to this message. While each in this circle is engaged in cycles of teaching, learning, and learning, teaching, through this service and in other ways in their lives, this service which you offer as vocal channels for the Confederation is not one of teaching per se. It is one of offering a mirror to what others have within themselves already. It is helping others to remember what they already know. Fun and exciting information may come through now and then. One may glean something new about the workings of the universe and be able to extrapolate philosophically some new conclusion, but the deeper purpose of your work is in awakening the love that is waiting within each being, the love whose source is infinite. As we communicated through the previous instrument, self-doubt can be an ally. In that regard, if the sights are aimed upon this love in terms of catalyzing and challenging and motivating the self, it can also become a stumbling block if taken at face value. If enlarged into opacity, it becomes then your truth. You identify with this self-doubt, and as this instrument was speaking before the circle, give it script writing ability, for in relating to doubt of self in this way, one can conceptually divorce themselves from the love that they are, the love that they have to share. One can get lost in their own inner mental maze that critically evaluates oneself around each such turn that they roam endlessly, finding negative reflection and negative reflection upon negative reflection in each wall and each bend, such that they feel pain, and they believe this to be all that they are, an entity who, half alive, roams these halls, lost in their own negative opinion of themselves, meanwhile somewhat blinded to the love that they are. You, my friends, are here to put words to carrier waves that are love itself, or shall we say, stepped down distortion of love. This does not require mastery of the text that is known to you as the law of one books. It requires your open heart, your commitment to the path of healing, your dedication to being an instrument open to our message, your courageous ability to be able to trust yourself, to respect and honor those negative voices within you, but to know that you are far, far greater, that even if you cannot see it, that you are magnificent and the sun is always rising in you. My friends, it is painful to spend too much time in the shadows. You do productive work there. This illusion was intended to facilitate these sorts of experiences, but we encourage you to step out from those dark corners in the mind in the radical trust that this moment can be accepted, and you, in the totality of all your choices, everything that you don't know, every mistake that you made, everywhere you don't measure up to the next entity and the next, that you are perfect as you are already. The more that you can leave behind and heal the shadows, the more that you can inhabit this essential vibration that connects directly and straightly to the present moment, the more that you can inhabit this reality of love and give form to our message that it might beam outward to reach the many, many others feeling locked within the corners of their own minds, yearning to find the truth that is like a puzzle made just for them, locked away in the interior of their own heart. Not information per se, but love. Each in this room is fully capable of serving in this regard, each with their own unique strengths, their own unique voice, their own unique configuration of energy that allows us to explore this love through a different creative set of nuances. through a different chord in the melody. At this time, we will transfer our contact to this instrument's favorite entity, the one known as Trisha. We are those known to you as Quo. We are those of Quo, and we are now with this instrument. Through this instrument's experience on the journey of self-acceptance, we find this particular query regarding self-doubt a familiar and potent lesson. So much so, in fact, that this instrument sits in that self-doubt in this very moment, before every gathering such as this as well. There are the many and varied and ultimately inconsequential narrations or stories the entity may create for itself to deny itself its true core, that being of the creator. For example, this entity is struggling to move beyond the story of your stomach is too loud, you are too hungry to focus on our message, and yet she sits here in faith and finds the ability to transmit our words, even while that self-doubt may creep in and cloud her vision at times. We realize we are speaking through this instrument as a potential comfort in this moment to alleviate that self-doubt of speaking through the experience, and we would suggest to those in this circle and praise those in the circle for speaking through their experience of self-doubt. For each and every one on this planet in this illusion may act as a mirror to self and other self in that vulnerable sharing of self-doubt, non-acceptance, lack of self-worth, that may be seen in the other self how inaccurate those evaluations are for self. For you may see the true pure beauty of the other self, and in your sharing, in your vulnerability, experience love and care from other self, and realize that you too are that perfect, beautiful, pure beam of light, that care you receive from others, that shoulder to lean on, that ear to speak to, that you are just as beautiful and radiant, that this symbiotic relationship, if you will, of teach, learn, teach, is an ultimate lesson one may learn and this illusion may take on in this experience. We understand how challenging this density can seem. The seeming separation that exists between self and other self, and the environment around self is one that can disorient the self from the larger truth of all, that one may at times be lost in that separation, seeing oneself as not worthy, or less than other self or creation, and we would remind that version of self that there is no such thing as a less valuable manifestation of the Creator, that all has its right place, that even this sensation of self-doubt, though painful or uncomfortable, serves a purpose as a beautiful and right extension of creation, so that self realizes how false that narrative truly is, what truth lies beneath the assignment of identity and the assignment of value. We humorously depict or convey to this instrument that it is only fitting that self-doubt comes into play for those in this circle as you all take on this practice of channeling. We would remind each that the intention of this service is immensely pure, is seen for the positivity of its motivation, that perhaps each in this room may at times not see the fuller picture of the service, that each may get stuck, if you will, upon specifics of what is transferred through each. Indeed, the message that comes through each is important and has value, but we would also point out that it is the very act of this transmission, the desire to serve, and what one does with the message that comes through that is of greater importance. One may study a history book and learn its content word for word, memorizing each page, but that only does so much good, if you will. It can only serve the entity so far. It is when one evaluates the content and sees it for what it is, makes connections in one's life or one's experience, that one may mine the gems from the content from the message. So in your experience of self-doubt in this practice, we would remind you that the gems and the treasure are abundant and all around for each and every one of you who've come into this service with pure intention. Each and every one of you have your hearts directed and steered towards service to others. Each and every one of you have released the desires of the ego, the needs for recognition, the draw to be correct or right or righteous, and instead you come to the circle and practice with simple, open, and full hearts. That, my friends, you should not doubt. That, my friends, you should put your faith in. That, my friends, you should find deep comfort with. And once that realization and that knowing can take root and genuinely become internalized, you will begin to see how beautiful and imperfectly so at times, perhaps each and every one of you are. This instrument, being unsure if her voice was loud enough to overcome the volume of her stomach, appreciates this opportunity to speak to such an important issue felt by not just those in this group who share much love for one another, but for many, if not most, of the souls on this planet at this time. Perhaps that is what we would leave this instrument with, is that idea that in your self-doubt you are not alone, that all on this planet are in some way, whether conscious or unconscious, walking that path to remembering love and releasing that need to doubt self. And just as the mother extends a gentle hand to the child, we will suggest extending that gentle hand to the self. At this time, we shall transfer our contact to the one known as Austin. Hear those of Quo. I am Quo and am now with this instrument. We have spoken to the proper role of self-doubt, unworthiness, and anxiety in the role and the life of the spiritual seeker. We would elaborate somewhat further upon these points, hoping to give a full perspective of what these emotions and energetic dynamics mean, and where they come from, and how they may be viewed in a way that empowers the seeker rather than acts as a detriment to one's seeking and realization of one's potential. This emotion and perception of self is unique to the third density, for it requires the illusion precipitated by the veil of forgetting, allowing each entity to perceive the self as anything but perfect, and as existing in any capacity besides to that entity's fullest potential. We find the channeling circle blessed with the energy of the second density being the one called Bosco, and in this moment we would ask our friend Bosco if he has ever felt anything like self-doubt, and the response as we would perceive it is laughter. Of course not, I am Bosco, and that is all that I need to be in any moment and in any situation, and with each step that I take, I reiterate to myself and to the world who I am, and that is Bosco the cat. We feel in this instrument the desire to communicate to Bosco that he has much experience in the next density, for indeed the lack of veil of the second density being allows it to be free of those concerns that allow oneself to feel self-doubt. If you asked us, those of Quo, whether we feel self-doubt, well, we would not answer strictly in the negative. The quality of what might be described as self-doubt for us does not have the weight that you feel within the third density that holds you back and keeps you from walking with lightness and confidence. And so we emphasize that self-doubt is indeed an essential aspect of the illusion that you experience, and indeed is something that in some ways was planned to be a central aspect of your experience as seekers attempting to make the choice of service to others. For when a seeker within the third density dedicates herself to this path of service to others, whether it is through a chosen specific service such as vocal channeling, or whether it is simply a choice to live a life of love and radiance, or whether this choice is even made unconsciously, the perception of the seeker may shift drastically, and the way that individual sees the world around it begins to take different shape. The reflections received by the seeker begin to speak to deeper lessons and begin to communicate to the seeker the needs of the seeker to look inside and to utilize the reflection of the environment around one, whether it is the other selves or the natural world or simply one's living circumstances, and to recognize that all that you see is indeed reflective and exist as a mirror in order to show you to yourself. This shift happens to the positive seeker in a way that can cause some instability, for there may be some falling away of personality traits, those things that have been described by your culture and society as ego, or perhaps overconfidence or other types of distortions that were shielding the seeker from recognizing these distortions of self-doubt and a lack of self-worth. And as these things fall away, the seeker questions that next step for this experience of vulnerability and a lack of knowing what the next step may bring, and whether one has within the self what one needs in order to take that step and to successfully place the foot upon the ground in full confidence that that step will be an aspect of one's service, and one can shine with bright radiance the love of the Creator with each step, following the former step. This is an understandable and difficult realization, and we offer you our deepest empathy and sympathy, but we would ask you to contemplate what it would mean for the self if it truly believed in your potential and if you truly understood your own selfhood as the Creator. For any seeker attempting to contemplate their own self-doubt and address what they feel may be a lack of self-worth, we would ask you to imagine a person to whom you admire greatly. Whether an individual from your life or even simply an imagined individual, this person is somebody who is powerful and effective, and you look up to them and what they are able to achieve and presence they are able to hold. They have your full love, and you understand that not everything that they have ever done is perfect, and yet they have your full admiration and respect, and you know beyond a doubt that they can achieve whatever they want to achieve. We find many people have this type of person within their life, and we would point out to any individual who is considering this type of deep admiration and love that this person exists as a reflection of the self, and would ask if you would find it possible within your heart to find that same admiration and love and belief and confidence in the self. What if you were standing outside of yourself and looking at yourself with the same eyes that you look at this object of admiration? How would that feel to you to know that you can achieve anything that you desire upon your path of service, that you can be as effective as necessary to meet any moment that the Creator puts before you? We don't offer this exercise of imagination casually. We ask that for any seeker who has been moved or who attempts to grapple with these issues to truly contemplate how one may come to admire the self, how one may come to believe in the self, and use the reflections about you of those that you see, that you truly believe in, and realize that the belief that can be pointed inwards, you can come to a realization with yourself where any perceived inadequacy does not influence how you view your own worth. Whether or not you succeed in a specific moment does not influence whether or not you continue to walk with confidence and understanding of your full potential. And we would offer a final thought, and that is, in grappling with this dynamic, we find there is much power and magic in the open sharing and the willingness to present oneself with vulnerability, whether it is to one's fellows with whom they have embarked upon a journey of service, or even simply to oneself in order to speak to the heart of the self these concerns, and to be honest with other self and with self about the difficulties and the feelings that are causing these distortions and self-perception. In the sharing, the magical potential of the deep and important emotion of self-doubt can be tapped and can be utilized to its fullest extent if allowed to be brought into the love and the light of the Creator of the self and of other self. There is no aspect of your experience that is outside of the bounds of the love of the Creator. And to bring that realization to bear upon any experience offers the full potential and transformation and power of the one infinite Creator to be manifest within your life and your path of service. At this time, we would transfer the contact to the one known as Jim to offer our final words for this evening. We are Quo. I am Quo, and am with this instrument once again. It has been our great pleasure and honor to be with this group this evening. We feel that we have been able to project the thoughts and concerns of the group and the response to them in a manner which each in the group has been able to perceive and channel forth in a way that is illuminating to the concept of self-doubt. Self-doubt, my friends, can indeed be grist for the mill, food for growth, and an enhancement of the spiritual journey, for you all have those moments. They are not by accident, my friends. These are valuable moments when you need to look deep within yourself for the answers, for there you will find them. There is the one Creator within each wishing to come forth in some form or fashion, and believe it or not, your self-doubts can draw it forth. At this time, we shall take leave of this instrument and this group. Again, we thank each for your conscientiousness in practicing the art of channeling. We are known to you as those of Quo. Adonai, Vasu, Borgas. So I know when you clicked on this particular video, it seemed to be a very generic concept. But this is fundamental to what many of you are going through at this time. Self-doubt. It creeps through about the decisions you make, about who you are, and what sort of person that you want to be in this world. Self-doubt can be tapped into to guide you and transform your experience. It can be a catalyst to change the way that you're thinking, or to guide you into a different way of thinking about the world. Self-doubt is important. It is okay It is common that we all have to experience this. It is an essential aspect of the illusion that you experience. And it was planned, as they indicate in this channeling, to be a central aspect of your experience as a seeker, attempting to make the choice of service to others. I experience self-doubt every time I do an episode. I've experienced enough doubt that I don't know if I want to publish my next book. And these self-doubts I have teach me some things about my choices and my life. And I'd like to ask you, what sort of self-doubt are you experiencing? There are some questions that are asked at the beginning of this that can be helpful to you, that you should ask. If you're having self-doubt, what causes the doubt? How do you feel when it arises? What is your first response? What do you feel is the most important response? Do you respond with anxiety or with a kind of fear? And can you use that in some manner that can fill that vacuum with more purpose, more confidence, more direction of the life path? You are the creator. You are the one infinite creator, and there is no lesser version of the infinite creator. Coming into this realization, you are all things. You're amazing, and there's no reason to doubt yourself. The experience that you're having is just a program within the illusion. And when you start to ask yourself the right questions, it's just a lesson that you can learn. But I know that many of you struggle with this because I am regularly messaged with comments about people that are struggling with self-doubt. That's why I read this. I know you're struggling with it. And these kind of words are not just going to take it away. It's okay. But you should know how wonderful and incredible you are. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to The Reality Revolution.